Hey guys, this is Realtor Haley coming back at you with another video. This is the second section of the Oregon real estate licensing exam for through the ECE shop. So let's get right into it. So to begin, this talked about personal property versus real property. So what's real property? So real property is anything that is on the property that cannot be moved, such as the house, the foundation, massive slabs of concrete, an in-ground pool. That's all real property. Personal property is things like that antelope there, this bookshelf here. That's personal property. You can take it off the walls, you can move the books. It's something that you own that can be moved away. So that's personal property. And then we get into the rectangular government, the rectangular government survey system. Sorry, this is a survey system used by the government. It divides into plots that are 36 by 36 miles, and then those plots have 36 1 mile by 1 mile townships, and they start in the northeastern corner and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and just snake like that all the way to 36. And then the individual townships are divided up into 4 plots. So then you'll have uh, then you'll say, if you want to get further, you'll say, for example, the southwest quarter plot of Township Clarkson. So, and then if you want to get further into the southwest quarter, the southwest quarter is then divided into quarters again, and then it's a southeast quarter, northeast quarter, northwest quarter, and southwest quarter. So then the quarters are then divided into quarters. So when you read a rectangular government survey, it is going to be set up from smallest to biggest. So you're going to start in the smallest section. So if you're looking for the township first, the township will be on the right. So it will be, for example, Township Clarkson. And then it will have section 2, so the township is the plot, and then which section of the plot, so township, plot, and then which of the quarter of the miles, so then it'll be broken up into quarter miles it is, and then which quarter of the quarter miles it is. And that's how you read a government survey system. Then it talks about the ownership of real property and things like appearances. And an appearance is real property that is inherent or automatic, like the rights of the property are going to automatically go to the person who's buying the house. This is things like the rights of profit, the right to license, the air rights, the subsurface rights, and the water rights. Those are all appearances. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Those are all those. So they're not all assumed in a real estate transaction, but if you're buying land, you may have subsurface rights or water rights or air rights. You can just get the rights of a property and not own the property itself. So you can have the water rights of a property, but not be able to walk on the property because you don't actually own the property itself. You just have the water rights of a property. So when you sell the property, you can sell the water rights individually sometimes, but usually it's just going to be bundled together with the entire transaction. Then we get to property ownership of estates. So an estate is anything that is like life estates. So these are how things are going to be passed on. So you have fee simple estates and life estates. So a fee simple is when ownership, possession, and control for an owner's lifetime, and then ownership is conveyed to heirs by a will after death. So these are usually complete. It's usually an absolute or a complete ownership is a fee simple. And then life estates is where ownership, possession, and control for an owner's lifetime, and then ownership is conveyed by deed, not by will. So what difference fee simple and life estates is fee simple is by will, and life estates are by deed. And then you have freehold estates and leasehold estates. So a freehold estate is anything that is for you own it free and clear. It's yours. You actually own the title. You can sell the title. You can do what you will with the title. That's a freehold. A leasehold is a determined length of time. So a leasehold, you will actually be held to 10 years, 5 years. Usually people see leaseholds as renting apartments. That's a leasehold estate, and a freehold estate is more like buying a home. So that's where freehold and leaseholds. So then it talked about encumbrances. So what's an encumbrance? An encumbrance is anything that can limit the title or deed of a of a property. So that's an encumbrance. It is something that is a defect on the title, a cloud on the title is what some people will call it. So some encumbrance are encroachments. This is when somebody's property is actually not on their property. So if I have a fence that is 2 feet into my neighbor's property, that's an encroachment. An easement is when somebody's property is behind somebody else's property and they're landlocked, so they can't get to their property unless they go through this other person's property. So this person who is in front of the other person will actually give them an easement to access their property. So those are some encumbrances and some easements. So that is the encumbrance part. So then you have common interest ownership. These are going to be things like timeshares, which is a fee simple, so you convey all of the rights. There's PUD ownership, or planned unit development, which is a mixed use of both residential and commercial. And then you have cooperative living, which is like a condo or something like that. And then you have townhomes and townhouses. So those are common interest ownership types. So then it talked about private use of land and how you can use your land. What are some HOA restrictions? These are things that you can't do on your land because of the government limits some of the things that you are able to do on your land. Like you have to get a license or you have to do certain paperwork to build a home or to get a shop on your house. So that's how some of this is enforced in the private land control. Then we talked about government rights in land, and the government can one of the things the government can do is eminent domain. So this is where the government is building a larger a larger interstate, and your land your land is needed to build this larger interstate. So they're going to actually take your land and pay you market price for how much they took your land, or appraised value of how much they took your land. So if they took 30 acres and it was $1,000 an acre, they're going to pay you $30,000 to take your land, and then they just take it. And you can't say no with eminent domain. And then escheat, whatever, it is the involuntary conveyance at death. So if you don't have a will or any heirs or any creditors, then the property goes to the government. So that's how the government can do that. You're also taxed, of course. Everybody's taxed, sadly, but the government does tax you based on your home. Then you have zoning. So what is zoning? So zoning is how a property, where a property is, and what can be built in specific areas. So zoning regulations, some places only have residential zoning, and you can only build residential homes. You can't get a permit to go and build something like a manufacturing plant in a residential zoning area. So that's what zoning is. So down zoning is when the process is you are lowering the density of a zone. So from a high family density zoning to a low family density zoning, something like that, where you're taking multiple apartment units and just making them single family homes. That would be down zoning. Aesthetic zoning is where they take a bunch of houses and they make them all to code. Like you have to make them all look very similar and use similar paints and similar lawns. That's going to be aesthetic zoning. And then you have bulk zoning. This is where the building designs and the floor plans are going to be essentially the same, so they can build a ton of similar things, to just build and build and build. So it's similar to um it's like a new town wants to get more population, so they're going to do bulk zoning, and they're going to build the exact same houses just right next to each other. And you see it in areas that are a little bit of higher density. So then you have environmental regulation of land use. This is going to be things of, you can't like store toxic chemicals on your land. You can't store things that are poisonous or radioactive on your land, and the EPA is going to get involved in some of this. And so you do have regulation of floodplains, things that are could be hazardous to building in specific areas, wetlands, things that are going to cause a problem for insurers or could possibly destroy your house. And then finally, you have environmental hazards and the licensing role. So environmental hazards are pretty self-explanatory. They're things that are environmental hazard, natural disasters, or what happened in Love Canal, things that like a landfill nearby. Those are going to be environmental hazards that you are near. But the agent's role, this is to help inform. So as the real estate agent, you're going to help inform people about these restrictions and the guidelines and zoning specifications. For example, if you are in a wetland, you are going to need floodplain insurance. So it's something that you have to buy if you're in a wetland. And these are just some of the things that you need to know as a real estate agent, like where are you going to find radon, a hazardous material. And so radon is going to be found in like dirt and places, and it's colorless and odorless, and so it is very dangerous. And so you need to, if there is a chance that there is radon, you need to have it tested, as well as asbestos. So asbestos is, in older homes, it was usually used in flooring, insulation, wall and ceilings, vinyl, and ceiling tiles and stuff. And it is it's small porous materials that can get in your lungs and cause a cancerous growth. So if the home is built before 1980s, you might want to have it tested for asbestos in the home so that you know whether or not it's safe. And you also want to check for mold, and mold will just occur to where there's a ton of moisture and not much circulation. So if your bathroom doesn't have fans in it, you probably should test for mold, because that's a low circulation area and there's a lot of moisture in the bathroom. So that's just some of the environmental hazards that you have. And so thank you very much for tuning in. If you did, I would hopefully when I get my real estate license, I'll be posting homes on here and things like that, that if you're interested, you can give me a call. And when I post the homes, I'll put my number up there, but not currently. I'm close to getting my real estate license. So I thank you for your time, and that's all for my time. So I thank you for your time.